Colorado's 3-7 spiral reveals leadership void under Deion Sanders. When the Colorado Buffaloes opened the 2025 season, the atmosphere in Boulder pulsed with optimism. Deion Sanders, entering his third year as Colorado's head coach, had spent all offseason telling the world his team was better than last year. Fans believed it. Recruits believed it. Even analysts who once scoffed at the prime effect began to wonder if year 3 might be the moment when hype finally translated into results. Instead, Colorado's season has unraveled into something more painful. A 3-7 collapse that has exposed deep cracks in the structure Sanders has built. A program once fueled by momentum and charisma now finds itself grappling with questions far bigger than the scoreboard. Questions about development, culture, stability, and leadership. And at the center of it all stands Coach Prime, a figure larger than the game itself, now facing the toughest chapter of his Colorado tenure. The broken promise of a better team. Back in April, Deion Sanders told reporters confidently, "This roster is better than last year's team." It wasn't bluster, or at least it didn't sound like it. After going 9-4 in 2024, Colorado added transfer talent, infused the roster with younger athletes, and seemingly addressed depth issues that had plagued them the year before. But as fall turned into winter, the reality on the field told a different story. One Sanders himself did not expect. The Buffs haven't looked better at any point this season. In fact, they've looked lost. The offense ranks 114th nationally. The defense ranks 117th. Big 12 opponents have consistently outmatched them in physicality, discipline, and execution. In game after game, Colorado has looked overwhelmed, blown coverages on defense, disjointed drives on offense, and a chronic inability to adjust when opponents counter their schemes. For a coach whose brand is built on confidence and clarity, the inconsistency has been jarring. "I know who you are," a warning signal from inside the locker room. In a recent well-off media clip, Sanders spoke bluntly to his team. "We got a bunch of guys in this group right here that really care, that really believe. We got several guys that don't. And guess what? I know who you are." The comment was honest, even necessary, but it also signaled deeper issues. When a coach publicly acknowledges an internal divide, it confirms what fans and analysts have suspected for weeks. Colorado's locker room is fractured. Effort has been inconsistent. Energy has lagged. And even with a handful of players showing obvious growth, like Julian Juju Lewis, Jordan Seaton, and Taufik Bayard, the team rarely plays with the unified purpose Sanders demands. Passion can't be manufactured, and belief without discipline becomes noise. A program that looks lost, not lethal. Early in the Sanders era, Colorado's identity was clear: fast, aggressive, explosive. This year, however, the team lacks a defining trait. The offense is predictable, often reduced to short passes or desperation deep shots. The run game is nearly non-existent. The offensive line remains a chronic weakness. Defensively, blown assignments and miscommunication have become a weekly occurrence. Colorado has surrendered explosive plays at an alarming rate while failing to generate consistent pressure on opposing quarterbacks. The stat sheet doesn't lie. The Buffs allow chunk plays at one of the highest rates in the nation. They struggle in red zone defense. They rarely win the time of possession battle. This isn't just a talent issue. It's a tactical and developmental one. Players are beginning to leave and speak out. Perhaps the most troubling sign comes not from the field, but from the transfer portal. More than a dozen players have entered the portal since mid-season, and several of them have shared eerily similar complaints. Mixed messages about development, constant criticism without solutions, being played out of position, lack of constructive teaching from the staff. Colorado has always been a program built on movement. Sanders famously reshaped the roster with unprecedented turnover in 2023. But this time, it's not just players leaving because of competition. They're leaving because they don't feel developed. One former player told reporters off the record, "You're told to work with position coaches, but then your progress gets dismissed. It's confusing." Another said, "It's hard to improve when every mistake is used against you instead of used to teach you." The cracks in the culture are no longer hidden. They're spilling into the public square. The Alphas controversy. When Deion Sanders spoke up, even Deion Sanders, now in the NFL but still deeply connected to Colorado, weighed in recently, saying the Buffs lacked alphas. Coming from the quarterback who once led this team, the comment cut deep. It raised questions about the current roster's identity and indirectly pointed to the staff's inability to cultivate leadership. When your former QB, the face of your program, openly states that elite leadership is missing, it becomes impossible to ignore. Shedur's comments reflected not just concern, but comparison. His era had direction. This one does not. What happened to the NFL-level coaching pitch? One of Sanders' biggest recruiting tools is the presence of former NFL stars, Hall of Famers, and elite football minds surrounding the program. The pitch is simple: come to Colorado and get NFL development from NFL-caliber coaches. But recruits have started asking the uncomfortable question: if the staff is so elite, why don't players seem to be improving? The Buffaloes have shown glimpses of greatness with individual stars, but the broader roster hasn't developed the way Sanders promised. When fundamentals erode, when players regress, when discipline disappears, high-profile assistants can no longer be a selling point. Colorado faces a cultural reset, and it must start at the top. Colorado's struggles run deeper than injuries, depth, or quarterback play. This team doesn't just need talent. It needs stronger internal leadership, clearer communication, more consistent development, better staff cohesion, a sharper football identity. And that begins with Deion Sanders. His charisma, vision, and energy built Colorado's brand from the ground up. But building the culture that sustains winning, not just attention, is a different challenge. A winning culture isn't made in the media. It's made in meeting rooms, weight rooms, and quiet moments no camera ever sees. To turn this around, Sanders must evolve from motivator to architect, from spark to structure. The final 2 games, a test of Sanders' control. With matchups against Arizona State and Kansas State still ahead, the Buffaloes aren't just playing for pride, they're auditioning for the future. Will players respond to Sanders' message? Will the locker room rediscover unity? Will the fundamentals improve even marginally? These 2 games won't define the season, but they will define how Sanders enters the offseason. A strong finish could stabilize the program. Another collapse could accelerate departures, deepen doubts, and intensify pressure. Where Colorado goes from here, the Buffaloes aren't just facing a losing season. They're facing a leadership crisis. Deion Sanders has proven he can energize a program. Now he must prove he can sustain one. Colorado needs structure, trust, and cohesion, the foundations of a real culture. Because talent alone won't stop a 3-7 team from spiraling. Only leadership will. And right now, the void at the top is as visible as the results on the field. The question is no longer whether Colorado can win. It's whether the program can rediscover unity, identity, and direction under the man who promised all 3, and must now deliver them in the face of adversity.